So we figured that Ashley's had enough airtime on this whole thing, so Andrew and I are going to take this one over, and this session's called
Energy Corner. And I'm Andrew.
And I'm Rob. The purpose of the episode is to address energy efficiency opportunities and to look for ways to shrink the environmental footprint of the property. So what do we have to start with? We have a 127-year-old home that has very little insulation. We knew that there would be an abundance of opportunities to improve energy efficiency, but we have been surprised about how great that opportunity is, and we'll walk you through that in this episode. So for the inside of the house, we had an energy audit done through EnerGuide. We know there's an abundance of opportunities with the house, but we wanted to try to get them prioritized by a professional. This EnerGuide program is a joint venture between the Ministry of Natural Resources and, in Ontario at least, with Enbridge. They offer up to $10,600 of rebates for home renovation improvements that enhance energy efficiency of a home. EnerGuide inspection costs about $500 for a normal home. What we didn't realize is that we knew this was a duplex, but there's a different standard for EnerGuide inspections for duplexes. It's called a multiple unit residential building, or a MURB, and the cost of the inspection is up to about $650, but that $650 is recoverable through rebate.
The rebates are kind of based on the amount of improvement, based on the before and the after. So you definitely want to get it done when the house is as inefficient as possible. So we didn't waste any time. We bought the house on October 5th and had the inspection booked for October 6th. The initial inspection, which took about 2 hours to complete, is intended to provide the baseline for the home's energy efficiency. The inspector looked at heating systems, water heaters, insulation, windows, and doors. And they even do an air leakage test where they close all the windows and doors, leaving one door open, which they seal with a tarp with a fan at the bottom of it. This creates a vacuum effect in the house. The fan draws air out of the house and measures how much air leakage there is. Once all renovations are done, there's a final inspection which costs around $250 to $300. The rebate amount is determined based on what improvements we have made based on the initial inspection.
So what do we have to start with? As mentioned, we have a 127-year-old home with 4,000 square feet of heatable floor space, a very old natural gas furnace, and a rusty old electric central air system. The electric baseboard heating's in the basement, a rusty old electric water heater, and windows that are not original. They are newer, but old enough to be inefficient. After the EnerGuide inspection was done, we get a report a couple weeks later. It's a 23-page report, and you can see a picture of it here. The summary shows a gauge of a typical newer home of similar size and the gigajoules of energy that it consumes in a year. And a gigajoule, it's equal to the equivalent amount of energy from 2 20-pound propane tanks. The house is estimated to be consuming not 123 gigajoules like a newer home, but 320 gigajoules of energy, or 162% more than a normal house of similar size, or 2.6 times the energy consumption of a newer home. The report shows where you can make improvements, listed in order of magnitude of impact and the resulting reduction in gigajoules resulting from each change. The guide also gives you target of energy consumption for your house. Their recommendation, if we follow all of their suggestions, is to take the consumption down to 96 gigajoules, significantly lower than the current house consumption rate. So the report makes recommendations on a whole host of things, from the heating system, insulation, windows, doors, water heater, ventilation system for heat recovery, air sealing, solar energy offsets, and water consumption around like toilets and shower heads. So the good news is that we can get 85% of the way to our new energy target by focusing on two things: primarily insulating the house in a better way than it is today, and changing the heating system from gas-fired furnace and baseboard heating in the basement to a number of heat pumps that will improve the efficiency throughout the place.
So the report also has an emissions section, and currently the house is estimated to generate 14.3 tons of greenhouse gas emissions each year. A lot of this is to do with the fact that there is a natural gas furnace. 1 ton of greenhouse gas emissions is about the same as driving a car 4,500 kilometers. So with many of the improvements suggested, we can reduce our emissions from 14.3 tons to 2.1 tons. Most of that will come from switching from natural gas to electric heat pumps. That is the equivalent of 55,000 kilometers driven, which is about the same as crossing the country 6.5 times. So that's the summary of the energy audit and some of the recommendations to reduce the environmental footprint of the Great Allen.
The good news is that there are many ways to improve the energy efficiency of the home. The bad news is that there are many ways to improve energy efficiency of the home. Beyond the economic argument, which will be expensive because there's so many areas of improvement, it's just the right thing to do, so we're going to do many of them for sure.